Good morning. I have decided to make a little video outside just because it's so beautiful out here. I want to take a look at Genesis chapter 18. You can read that story for yourself, the whole thing. But it's a story where Jesus appears to Abraham. Actually, Abraham is sitting at his tent, it says, in the heat of the day, and he looks up and he sees these three men there coming. And I don't know if it just kind of appeared, like, because it says he was sitting at the tent there looking out, and all of a sudden these men show up. But he runs out to them, and it says that he bows down to the ground before them, and he asks them, can I, can I bring you some water so you can wash your feet, refresh yourself? I want to bring you some food. And they say, yeah, go do this. And so he runs back to the tent and he tells Sarah to hurry. He says, hurry, prepare some of these cakes. And then he runs to the field and he picks out a tender young, a son of the herd, it says here, so like a tender young sheep or something. And he comes back, and then it says a youth hurried to prepare it. So in that whole thing, it says that Abraham ran 3 times. So he ran to them, he ran from them, and he ran to the herd. He tells Sarah to hurry, and he tells this other guy apparently to hurry, because it says he hurried to prepare this lamb or goat or whatever it would have been. Sometimes, and one of the things that stood out to me is that sometimes when, there is a time that we are running around and doing things with God and for God, and we can do these things, we can have the excitement and we can go, and which is good, It's much better than not being excited about the things of the Lord and just being lazy or not. We can get so, it can just become some boring thing to do when we do things, teach Sunday school or and all of a sudden it can become a chore. But we see that it is important for even Abraham, he ran and he did, and he went back and forth and he told them to hurry. He knew there was something different about these men. I believe he spent so much time with the Lord that he felt something different, because he does recognize and realize that it is the Lord after. But I don't know at what point actually exactly, if he knew right away or later, but how somehow he knew that these men were not just ordinary men. And actually we find out later that 2 of them are angels and one of them is probably Jesus. However, after he does all this running back and forth, it says this in verses 8. And he took the curds of milk and the son of the herd which he had prepared, and he set it before them. And then this verse is kind of neat. It says, and he stood by them under the tree, and they ate. Sometimes, like I said, we get busy, caught up running around and doing things, and it can be good. Sometimes we need to be doing these things that we are doing for the Lord and with the Lord, and and with excitement and enthusiasm. But there are times where when we have done these things, that we just need to stand still. It's kind of funny, because he went there and he stood still as they ate. He's like watching them eat. And it's at that point in verse 9, and they said to him, where is your wife Sarah? So yeah, God then, he does all this stuff, and then he stands still and waits. It's almost like he's waiting for, like, well, what's next? And he just stands still after being, I get this sometimes too. I want to do something, get something done, and I just relax. But he stands still, and now is the time for talking. It's almost like he's waiting for God. Well, what's next? And then they ask him this question, where is your wife Sarah? And this is where they actually tell him that she is going to have a son. And there's a little interesting point I want to make at this, from this passage of scripture. It says, and Abraham and Sarah were aged in verse 11, and going on in days, the custom as to women had ceased to be to Sarah. And Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after my being old, shall there be pleasure for me, and the Lord, and my Lord also being old? So she laughs within her heart. It doesn't even sound like she laughed out loud, but she laughs within her heart. And then this is what God says. And actually it says, and Jehovah said to Abraham, why has Sarah laughed at this indeed? He doesn't say it to Sarah. He says this to Abraham. And I thought about this. I'm like, I wonder if Abraham, I was talking in a previous video in Genesis 17, where God appears to him and says that, Sarah will have a son. I wonder if Abraham never told Sarah. Maybe I don't know why, but it definitely sounds like she doesn't know. And that's why God says, he says to Abraham, Abraham, why did Sarah laugh, at this? And it's almost like him saying, you didn't tell her, because this seemed so far-fetched, like to her that she just laughs within herself. So I think one possibility is that he just didn't tell her. And maybe he's like, well, I don't want to give her, Abraham did believe God, but it's almost like he didn't want to give her this hope or something. I'm not sure, but it is very interesting that it's to Abraham, and she seemed very surprised by this. So that's just kind of something interesting that I saw in this passage. There are so many other great things that I could talk about in this section, but I just want to encourage for all of us, don't get too busy to just keep running back and forth and hurrying and not stopping and standing and waiting on God, because sometimes we can get caught up in just doing, and we don't take that time to wait and hear God speak. And so sometimes there's a time to run and to hurry and to be excited, but sometimes there are times where we need to stop and stand still and ask the Lord what's next. And so just be encouraged and enjoy your beautiful day wherever you may be, or your sleep if you're watching this at night. But let's just continue to thank God for his awesome creation, for the freedoms we have to be able to just share things that we are learning, and to be able to use technology to encourage one another. Be blessed, and subscribe if you would like to my channel.